Well, anybody who's been listening to Papa Bear Hikes over the past year and a half knows I've interviewed a lot of women, not just backpackers, but outdoor enthusiasts. And funny thing is, when I talk to them, the question of how do your family and friends respond when they tell them you're going on a 6 month backpacking trip or a 2 month biking trip is, are you going to be safe out there? It's always a question that comes up. Well, today I have with us the CEO of an organization that's helping women alleviate some of those fears or concerns that may keep them from going into the outdoors. Because also, as I've talked about, we're seeing more and more women out there. As a matter of fact, my Tahoe Rim Trail hike, I would guess no less than half the backpackers I met were females. So today we have with us Nicole Snell, CEO of Girls Fight Back. Nicole, welcome to Papa Bear Hikes.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Nicole, first of all, thanks for agreeing to come on here and talk about this issue or what you're doing to help with this. As I said, it's a fear that I think some women are getting over and are going out and doing it. Some of them I've heard make light of it, but I believe it's something that's still keeping some women from going out and enjoying the outdoors the way they should. So, could you start off by telling us a little bit about Girls Fight Back?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Girls Fight Back is an organization that was started in 2001 by a woman named Erin Weed. And it was started for her friend and sorority sister, Shannon McNamara, who lost her life in a tragic attack. And because of how hard Shannon fought for her life, enough evidence was gathered to capture and prosecute her murderer. And so Erin started Girls Fight Back to keep Shannon's memory and fighting spirit alive, and to also help the women in the area, the college women, feel like they could still go out and live their life without having to live in fear. And so that's how Girls Fight Back started. And I got involved with the organization in 2014 as a speaker. And then in 2020, the owner at the time was selling the company. And since I had been speaking and working with the organization to create additional programming for corporate audiences, as well as expanding our college offerings to do gender inclusive programs, I thought, you know what, maybe I should ask her if I can buy it. And she said yes. And so in 2020, right before COVID, I purchased Girls Fight Back. And then COVID hit, obviously, and I had to adapt all my in-person programming to make it virtual while keeping the interactive elements. And because I am such a passionate outdoor adventurer, solo hiker, camper, solo traveler, I always had a lot of people that would come into my sessions or email me and talk about they were concerned about their safety when they're outside, when they're hiking, when they're camping, when they're traveling. And so I started a series in 2019 called Outdoor Defense, where I used my passion for empowering people through self-defense, as well as my passion for encouraging people to get outside. And I put them together to offer people simple, practical, empowering self-defense and safety strategies so that they could feel more comfortable knowing that they have options for handling themselves in situations they may encounter in the outdoors. And since taking over Girls Fight Back, I've actually created a program that I've presented to several different organizations, women-owned organizations, as well as, brands and such, on hiking solo. It's called Yes, I'm Hiking Solo, where I talk about self-defense and safety for the outdoors. And so, yeah, Girls Fight Back talks to all sorts of organizations, from colleges and high schools to corporate Fortune 500 companies to healthcare industries to the military to outdoor groups, retreats, brands, nonprofits, conferences, anyone who's interested in learning self-defense and safety strategies for their life. I serve those communities, but I'm extra passionate about doing the outdoors, speaking engagements and work, because I'm so passionate about the outdoors.
And I think that's great because I've spoken to a number of women, Nicole, and they share that passion. And part of that passion is, you know what? There's women out there who are afraid to go out and enjoy this. And when I interview people who have hiked or are planning a long term hike, I ask them, "What do you have any fears, or what was your biggest fear?" And the response is almost always human encounters. It's not
Mm.
bears. It's not venomous
Yes.
snakes. It's human encounters.
Yes. Yes. Whenever I do a Yes, I'm Hiking solo program, the first question I ask, because I want to gauge my audience and I don't want to assume people are mostly worried about dangerous strangers. And I ask, what concerns you? Is it afraid of getting lost? Is it afraid of animals? Is it afraid of, dangerous interactions with other humans? Or is it something else, fear of not having the right equipment, etc. Overwhelmingly, it's the fear of other people. It's the fear of other humans that they run into on the trail. And that's exactly why I do this work, is because this fear exists. It's out there. You look at any message board on any group that is primarily women, and even some that aren't, and you almost every day will see someone have a concern or a question about safety and personal safety and encounters in the outdoors.
And because I mean, these fears, these hazards of the human encounters, and that's what it is. Um, because I mean, the truth is, as somebody who's been hiking for decades, you're far more likely to have a dangerous human encounter than an animal encounter.
Yes.
Um, it's just when I hear somebody like yourself talking about this and promoting this and being proactive in it, I think it's great because I'm a big believer that the outdoors is there for us all to enjoy. And something like this we can overcome. We can you're showing us with your company, with what you're doing, that there is a way to overcome this. And
Yes.
specifically in your case for women to overcome this. Um, Tell us a little bit about how are you doing that? How's your company going about this? You talked about your virtual classes. What are some of the methods you're using to reach out to women?
So my series Outdoor Defense is one of the main avenues that people find me. I put out episodes every 2 weeks, and it's on a different topic on outdoor safety. Sometimes I'm teaching a physical skill, sometimes it's more of a motivational talk, sometimes it's addressing a fear, but it's all based on ways that I can help people feel more confident that they're capable of protecting themselves in the outdoors. I feel like, the majority of women are afraid of men. They're afraid of a dangerous man in the outdoors. And there's a lot of stereotype of, stranger danger, when in fact women are more likely to be attacked by somebody they know versus a stranger. And so this idea that running into a stranger is the most common encounter that they'll have is not actually statistically accurate. And so I want to break down that myth right there, which can alleviate some of the fear that people may have. So I try to provide facts to overcome the fear. And then there's a lot of gender stereotypes on women and people who identify as women about our ability to be able to protect ourselves. There's a lot of stereotypes about our size and our strength and our capability to be able to defend ourselves. And I try to break those stereotypes down as well, because everybody, regardless of your gender, your body size, your age, your height, your strength level, your coordination level, everybody is capable of defending themselves. And I try to encourage people by giving them information, by giving them simple and practical skills practice for their body as well as their mind and their voice, so they can feel more confident. A lot of time, people who come to me, they're not necessarily worried about what if something happens. It's what if something happens and I don't know what to do, or what if something happens and I don't know how to handle it. And so I am here to provide those strategies. And something I really focus on in my sessions is that self-defense is more than physical. It is more than, heel palms and kicks and knees and all the things. I teach those as well, because it's important that we know that we can use our body if we need to. But so much of self-defense involves intuition, awareness, body language, verbal strategies, setting boundaries, trusting ourselves, things like that. And I help people harness those skills that we all have so that they know, okay, if I needed to respond to a situation, I have a wealth of tools in my toolbox, my mental and physical toolbox, to address it.
Because I think the physical side of it, you could teach somebody how to defend themselves. Right? I wrestled in high school, so I was taught how to wrestle. You could teach somebody how to box. You could teach somebody martial arts, but that mental side of it, the intuition, as you brought up. I've talked to a lot of women who have through hiked these longer trails who have said, I had a situation where there was a guy who I just, something didn't feel right. So I had to put some separation, whether it was taking an extra day off the trail to put some mileage between them, or do something to create that barrier, or to send a signal that there's no romantic interest here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you, if you're able to, how do you convey that message to women who want to hike, that, how to, because intuition is a tough thing to teach, as I said, as opposed to the physical side of it. How do you address that?
Oh yeah, so in addition to running Girls Fight Back, I also teach full force self defense with an organization called Impact Personal Safety. In fact, I just returned from teaching in Rwanda for 2 weeks.
Wow.
I taught the first week I taught all women. The second week I taught a gender inclusive LGBTQ group. So people of all gender identities can benefit from what we teach them. And so like a lot of times people find that the verbal practice and those concepts more difficult than the striking, because okay, yeah, I can go out there and throw a heel palm. Okay, I really don't have to think about that. But when I have to think about how am I going to address someone who's saying something inappropriate to me, how am I going to override our societal programming that we should ignore our intuition, and instead of ignoring it, we listen to it. How do we override the social contract, or if someone that is nice to you, there's this expectation that you're nice back to them, even if you're feeling uncomfortable. This for a lot of people, women especially, but men experience this too. I mean, people of all gender identities experience the draw to be nice, like the pressure to be nice, to avoid offending somebody. And I tell people that your safety is more important than someone else's feelings. It is okay for you to set a boundary. You do not owe niceness to anybody. And if you need to say, you know what, I'm not interested in talking, or if someone's asking a lot of questions, you can say, look, I'm not interested in answering your questions. I'm really uncomfortable with the amount of questions you're asking, and I'd just like you to continue on. And just be clear and direct and set those boundaries, because those things can be deterrents to predators. They are deterrents to people who mean harm, because assailants and predators and people with bad intentions are often looking for people that they consider to be vulnerable, or they're testing. They're interacting because they're testing to see, is this person able to set boundaries? Is this person going to react in a way that is going to make me feel like I'm going to have an advantage if I continue? And I'm teaching people simple things that they can do that doesn't restrict their life, that allows them to go and do the things they want to do. But knowing if they encounter this and they have that feeling, it's like I'm giving them permission. They don't need my permission, but it's like sometimes that having that external person saying, yes, it's okay for you to do this, allows them to give themselves permission to speak up for what they need and to set those boundaries.
Yeah, because I would say, the hiker community and, well, the outdoor community in general is just very friendly by their nature. I mean, it's just,
Oh
we're
yeah.
all friendly to each other. We all help each other. But it's like when my kids were growing up, I raised 3 boys, and trying to get that message across that if a situation feels uncomfortable, if somebody's making you feel uncomfortable, go with your gut.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. And I've had such wonderful experiences hiking. I've had more uncomfortable situations walking to my post office down the street, being catcalled multiple times in 3 blocks worth of a walk, than any time that I've ever had being on a trail, hiking, backpacking, camping, etc. I've always encountered, wonderful people, but my experience isn't everyone's experience, and whether someone hasn't had an experience or they still have that fear, my goal is to help reduce that fear and let them know that, hey, even if a worst case scenario happens and you have to deal with something, you are fully capable of being able to do it. And one of the first things that I'm teaching people, in addition to the intuition and awareness piece, is it's okay to face the person and address them. Like if someone's walking behind you and they're following you, right? It's like you feel the
mhm.
intuition, something's off. Instead of continuing to walk and maybe walk faster, or, telling yourself in your mind, oh, this can't be happening, or I can't believe this is happening, turn and face the person. Now they have to deal with you directly. Now it is face to face. They don't have the advantage of being behind you now, and you're calling out that you see that they're following them. And you can say something innocuous like, oh, hey, are you lost? Did you need some help? Or, hey, I saw that you've been following me for a couple miles. Did you lose your way? It can be in a non-confrontational manner, but it's still direct, and it lets them know that you see them, you are on to them, and that could be a deterrent in and of itself.
Yeah, I get that. I could see that. Yeah, I think in one way you're saying, okay, you're not scaring me.
Mm-hmm.
I will look you in the eye. I will face you, see you face to face. And then the other side of that is, maybe you're just a little nervous, a little edgy, and maybe this person just, you know, maybe your intuition gauge is just slightly off that day, but
Yeah,
Not that
but
you shouldn't
it's
trust it, but yeah, I think
right.
your approach makes so much sense.
And it's like if someone does have bad intentions, I would rather address that person face to face than have that person behind me. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to have a better view of what's going on, what's behind me, what if there's something else behind that person, where my surroundings are. Like, it just gives you a broader view of what's actually going on. And once you have that information, then you can make your decisions from there. Like, nothing that I teach is absolute. I don't give absolutes, such as, if this happens, you're always going to do this, or if this happens, you do this, because we're all different and the situations we face are different. And that's just not the way life works, right? I can't ever give
Yeah.
anything that's going to be 100% all the time, but I can give you a range of tools and confidence in yourself that you will be able to decide what's going to work for you in that situation. The most important thing is having the confidence and knowing that you're worth fighting for. And fighting isn't always physical, like I said. So it's just that my boundaries are worth fighting for. My safety is worth fighting for. My comfort is worth fighting for. My ability to enjoy the space without being intimidated or threatened by someone else is worth fighting for. And that knowledge alone can be what helps people reduce that fear.
Because the other fears that keep people from the outdoors, I mean, um, well, I'll take mine. Venomous snakes. Okay, I can watch. I can read. I'm kind of obsessive and maybe border on an expert on an eastern timber rattler. But yeah, I know while I'm out there, it's always in my mind. If I come across one, I know where they're at. I mean, it's to the point where if I'm hiking on the AT, I've done enough advanced research, and I have my guard up going through those areas. But it's given me the confidence to overcome it.
Right, because you know what to look for, you know what to do if you see one, you have a plan in place in case there is a worst case scenario where you run into one and it, heaven forbid, you got struck. But like the fear of it doesn't keep you from going on those trails, but it encouraged you to prepare, to learn more and prepare.
Mhm.
And that's really what I'm doing, is helping people learn more so they can feel prepared, that they can address situations that they encounter.